So, got to have your cup of coffee, haven't we? Just look at that bunch of grapes. Isn't that scrummy? But as I was saying, that only having a few grapes, it's worth doing it like this by hand. There is no point in getting to... I'll sterilise this bucket, by the way, by pouring scalding water into it. The grapes have all been washed under a tap, just in case there's any residue of sulphur on them. Though it has rained since they were sulphured, so and they look clean. They don't look as though they've got any chemicals on them. I like to try and do everything as organic as I possibly can. Albeit, it's the last one. These nappy buckets are just the job for this sort of thing, because the lid can go down really tight. So I'm crushing them in a bucket, and I'm just using a bottle, but I've got one that's got a hollow underneath, and that sort of drags a bundle down and just crushes them. Now I won't crush them totally up. There's still lots that's going to get away with it, but this is only the initial crush. Okay, so now time to crush up a couple of Campden tablets. This is how I like to do it. Put them in a spoon, but then crush them in the spoon between a cup. There we go. And mix all that in. Right, so we've squashed it. Now then, what we need to do now is hydrometer it. Now that is, give it a spin, 60. And we go across here and it says potential alcohol, that's saying it's 9.8, and we've got a roughly potential alcohol, which is what we was after. And we'll put the lid back on that. Now the white is just going, well, just going, it's bubbling away. One of them hasn't started yet. Small one is the it's a Chardonnay and Cabernet, and that's going well. But the other two, I think one is trying to go. Anyway, I'll give them a boost. I've got some yeast going really nicely there. I think perhaps I might need to add that bit of yeast to the other two slow ones. Now I've got the I've put the yeast and the tablets, the vitamins, in the yeast in the bottle, and it's going. So I reckon that now can be added to the two buckets. Then I shall leave them like that for 10 days and then take the juice off. Right, here we go then. There we go, take the lid off. And then we want half of this in there. Where's half? Oh, down the label. And in goes that. That's the yeast in. And put lid back on. In there for 10 days, look, and it's all quite red. Lovely jubbly. And that is ready now to move on to the demijohn. And then we want that. We want a sieve. We've got some bags ready that we can squeeze out. I want to keep them. In fact, I might use the bigger funnel, I think. Keep them there. That's what I'm going to use for scooping out. And I'm going to keep them sterile. And not quite sure how much we're going to get out of here. And what I'm hoping for here is I'm taking off the topmost, so any sludge is still left in the bottom of the bucket. And my next gallon will be after I've squashed the grapes, to get as much of the red colouring and tannin out of the grape skins as I can. Oh, empty that out. Go again. That's done that. Oh no, we're going for the red now. That's going to have a lock on, fermentation lock. There we go. Some bubbly in there. No, come on. That's sterilisation fluid that I've mixed myself, which is metbisulfate and citric acid. There we go, that's ready to go. And if you look very carefully, you can just see that there's pressure building up already. We're good. So we'll carry on now. And we'll do the squeegeate one. Is we've sterilised this. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put that in there. Is to squeeze it, to squeeze the juice out. And I could put it in a press, but with a small quantity like this, it's just not worth it. This is as good a way as doing it as any. Right, and then that goes on the compost. All the pips and all the bits. And our demijohn isn't full, so I will need to decide on how I want to make up the last little bit. It's not wise to have too much air left in the top of your demijohn, so I'll have to decide on I either make up turn. There we go, all done. Just bubble away, and I should probably leave those two bubbling just like that. Oh no, in about 2 weeks time I shall rack them off, and then leave the airlocks on them probably till next year sometime, just so that they can totally bubble dry to make a dry wine. And I shall put some caps on the a couple of caps on top of the airlocks as well. That's to stop them from drying out. Well now, I've done a bit of bottling up. These are the last 3. The one in the middle, the larger one, is the one that I added extra sugar to, and it started bubbling again. So now that one is ready to go into the champagne bottles, but that's a different Gevrauta case. The small one to the left, that was my Chardonnay from the single vine, and that's as clear as a bell. Look at that. That's ready to be bottling up. And then of course the Cabernet That's, I think it's ready to bottle, but I'm going to leave that for a little bit longer just to make sure that it has finished fermenting. So there we go, ready to go. So I've bottled up the sparkly wine, and the corks, as you can see, are the hollow corks with wire around, and they need a little bit of extra cork in there because these are smaller than a champagne cork, and they go in there so they can be turned every day, and then as time goes by they get tipped up steeper, but at the moment that's the right angle for them. And then when they've been like that and they've been turned regularly, and they're showing clear, then the next stage is they go and they're stored totally upside down so that the must to go into the cork, and they could sit like that for anything up probably even a year. And when they are looking clear, that is the time then I do the freezing of the tops and disgorging. Now our last one, which is our Chardonnay, which was a single bush up the allotment, there's a small amount of Bacchus in there as well. That I've got fresh bottles for that. So I want 3 nice bottles, which would be these 3. These were all sterilised. I've got a clean pipe, bit of tube. Now that looks like a nice drop of wine, that. So you get 3 out of half demijohn, and obviously 6 out of a full demijohn. This last little drop, I might have a job not getting lees in it. If that's the way it works out, then the last one looking good at the moment. No little signs of something creeping up the pipe. If it don't work, no, we're getting stuff creeping up the pipe now. Ah well, I'll top that up with something from another demijohn. Put the lids on those, lids on, labels on. I like these type bottles now because you can stand them up. You don't have to lay them down. It saves all that corking business. I still sometimes put the tops on to make them so that each batch has got its own colour. I make my labels on the computer because it's cheap and it's a bit of fun, and your label hasn't got to be boring as long as you've got your the alcohol content on it. We're going to do labels. There's my label. I mean, you know, you can do more than one. It's just that I've already done a couple. Then I like to use this spray glue. So give it a good old spray. Make sure you've got it around all the corners. Okay, and then stick it over the old label. You might as well make the labels interesting, and when people read them they can then have a laugh, can't they? Hopefully, and you can make up all sorts to go on them.